me call you right back.
9 o'clock. Tracy, if you would you say the blessing for us?
Dear Lord, we love you, and we just thank you for the gift of this day. Lord, we thank you for this time of the year that we have to set aside to take comfort in your birth and knowing that you loved us enough, Lord, to come to earth and take on the form of a man that you could eventually lay down your life for us and make a home for us in heaven. We just pray right now that you bless the sick and bereaved in our communities, Lord, and just be near and dear to them in the coming days. I pray now, Lord God, your wisdom on these men as they sit here today and make the decisions for the county. I pray, Lord, you'll bless their families. Forgive us what we've sinned against you. In Christ's name we ask you. Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the meeting to order. We have a motion to approve the claims.
Make that motion.
A second. Second. All in favor? Show of hand. Mr. Hunt.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We talked about, I think it was a couple of meetings back, about the Winfield Hospital. We had received a request from the attorney for Northwest Medical and the Healthcare Authority of Winfield. To briefly update you, back in 1964, Marion County entered into a lease with the city of Winfield on the property that's where Northwest Medical Center is now located. And obviously that hospital has undergone some changes over the years. And in 2018, the city of Winfield created Healthcare Authority to take over that hospital. County Commission still owns that property pursuant to a 99-year lease, which we're roughly 55 years into. And they've asked us to transfer the property over to the Healthcare Authority of Winfield. The commission has basically divested itself of its healthcare properties that it's owned throughout the years. Traditionally, that's one of the roles that the county commission had, was operating the county hospital and county healthcare facilities. As we've morphed into more modern times, county commissions are getting further and further away from that. I think within the last dozen or so years, we transferred the property that we held in Hagenberg, transferred some of the property in Ewan, we transferred the property in Hamilton around 2000 to the Northwest Medical Center, Northwest Mississippi Medical Center. And basically this is our one remaining large tract of land. It's roughly 5 acres of property that they've asked us to transfer over to the Healthcare Authority of Winfield so that they can better maintain the property and do what they need to do to operate the hospital.
Have any discussion, any questions?
What in the event that that hospital ceased to be a hospital and go to private property available for something other than a hospital?
Yes, sir.
What about who would, it's still, if we give the land, it'd still be theirs, wouldn't it?
It would be their land.
Well, I mean, what about, you know, that's a pretty valuable piece of property.
It's a valuable piece of property, and that's one of the terms in the lease agreement now, is that it be held for healthcare purposes. Going to the Healthcare Authority would give us a little more, I guess, control about it being continued to be a healthcare property, which is what we would like for it to be. The more healthcare facilities we have in the county, and that's a legitimate concern to have. If y'all want to have that kind of provision in the deed for so long as it's used for healthcare purposes, I don't see that being an issue with them. I can, have that conversation with them. But if y'all would like to put that in the property, that it transfers over to the Healthcare Authority for so long as it's used for healthcare purposes, then that would mean that the property has to be used for healthcare purposes. And once it ceased to do that, it would revert back to the county commission.
I feel like that'd be the best. That way we're guaranteed to let it be a hospital, or it'll come back to us.
Okay.
Was the 99-year lease, and 55 years is up.
What's the urgency now for the other 44?
Well, I think it gives the healthcare authority and entities in Winfield better authority to be able to do some things with that property. It clears up, they have a bond issue that's focused on that facility. It just clears up some hurdles that they have with the land. It removes us from having to sign off on everything that is done with that property. I know when we went through the issues with the hospital facility in Hamilton, that was one of the main requirements that the title companies had, was to remove us from it, because nothing could ever get done with that building without coming in front of the county commission. And it was a little bit of a hurdle for them. And it also helps the county commission out. We don't have to be on the property. We don't have to be a named insured. We don't have to, worry about if there's something that happens on that property, would we get sued? I think there's protections there, but still, that's something that we would have to constantly worry about.
And I'm all for the, as long as this health facility go ahead and do that, because we don't realize how important to have two hospitals in our county really benefits us.
Well, we've all seen the news, rural hospitals are closing every
Yeah.
day, and we're fortunate, we've got two in our county. Most counties don't have one,
So much true.
so.
Any more discussion?
I'd make a motion to give them a lease instead of stipulating what you said a while ago as far as long as it's a health facility.
Will not be a lease.
Not a lease.
I mean,
Not a lease, it's signing over to them as long as
Sign
it
it over to
remains a
them, do away with the
healthcare
lease.
facility.
Suppose it's not a health facility anymore, what happens then?
Comes
Back
back
to
to
us.
us.
It comes right back to us.
Yes. We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Tim Gainey came to us, he had got a letter from about changing his voting place. Scott, did you have time to look over that? That may be something Paige knows more about, I don't know.
Yes, sir. I spoke with the Board of Registrars and Judge Vick with regard to the request by Mr. Gainey. I think it had some issues related to the mining operations there, and that's what ultimately led to the acknowledgement that there's a mistake there. Mr. Gainey, as I understand, lives on Bloodhound Trail, which is basically the easternmost road of precinct 18 in that area. And the Board of Registrars recommended us to change the precinct line to basically be Bloodhound Trail as it goes north up to Gainey Loop, not to include Gainey Loop, because we don't want to get those people in there and mix those, and then head east, basically in a line over to the precinct 13 line. And that would get Mr. Gainey, basically his family, I think there's going to be 3 voters that would be affected by that, to get him in the precinct that he's always felt like he was in and thought he was in and was always notified that he was in. But I think that coal mining operation, at least from what I was told, is what sort of changed the line and where that boundary is between 13 and 18 in that area. We were within the time frame to where the precinct line would not come into effect for the election. However, the Board of Registrars told me, let's go ahead and get it changed. And we're going to converse with the Secretary of State, and since we'll get it in, Wednesday's like the absolute cutoff day for voting lists and all those things. We get it in before then. We believe that effect will take place for the March election, and everything will be fine for Mr. Gainey. And I think he's already qualified as constable in precinct 13, and to clear him up with any issues that he would have with that. But I think this is basically fixing what everyone always thought was the case anyway, was that he was actually in precinct 13.
Yeah, he's voted at the Rock City precinct all his life.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, I think that's, and it's not going to affect anyone else if we do this. It just affect them.
He's in my district, I'll make that motion.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Skip down. That's y'all. Tracy, that'll bring you up on,
All I'm doing here today, guys, other than just visiting and trying to stay abreast of what we got going on in the county, it had been brought to my attention a few weeks back about the tobacco tax that's been collected in our county for many, many years, and how a portion of that had been set aside. There's a percentage, y'all know, a ratio, a formula that dictates a certain percentage goes to the county water authority, a certain part goes to the firefighters association, the rescue squads, and then any county or city-owned ambulance services. We don't have any of those at this time as far as city or county-owned ambulance services. So I'm not here trying to exercise any authority that I have, because I have none in front of this body. I was just asked if I would come and request for the commission, allow the attorney for the commission to do whatever is necessary to work with the Attorney General's office. I think there's roughly $96,000 in that account that has accumulated over time that is now just sitting there and is of no use to anyone. So I would imagine the decision on how it would be spent would be up to the commission and/or any direction the Attorney General's office might give us through an opinion. And I was just gonna see if the commission would consider empowering our attorney to begin that process to liberate those funds and be used as the commission and/or the Attorney General deem necessary.
yeah, I have talked to Scott a little bit about it, and I'll talk to him some more. But what we need to do, Scott, is, my opinion is, we need to get the Attorney General's opinion on what to do with the existing funds, and then we're gonna have to have another ratio of dividing the money.
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's the only fair way I know to do it, and we cannot do it. I mean,
That's right, y'all have to abide by the act.
Yeah.
And that would be my question to the attorney would be, once the Attorney General gives direction to the commission, would we have to have then another local bill passed to, I don't want to say change the ratio, because it would basically be the same, but allocate that 5 or 15% that Commissioner Burris and I were discussing before the meeting? They would give us direction going forward?
That's correct.
Yes, sir.
And Chairman, we'd need a vote on getting the Attorney General.
yeah. One thing is, now it's 60% goes to the water authority. I forgot exactly what the ratio is, but 10% goes to, 25% goes to the Forest Association, 10% goes to the Rescue Squad, and then 5% went to the publicly owned ambulance service. What we're looking at right now, in my opinion, I think, would be 35% of it is actually going to the volunteer fire department, because the 10% rescue squad, the rescue squads are in the fire department. So,
That's my understanding. But it would be.
but we need a clarification on what to do with the remaining 5%, whether to divide it 2.5 to water and 2.5 to fire, or all to the water, or all to the fire.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Can we apply that 5% to the sheriff's department in some form or fashion toward the jail or something?
We don't know. This is all,
Can you put that in the Attorney General's question?
yeah. And,
There's really two questions, if I understand correctly, Mr. Chairman, is the Attorney General give us direction on how the money is divided that has been collected and is sitting there. And I would imagine you would use the existing proportionate breakdown that's already in the code. And then how do we proceed going forward with additional, with those monies from this day on?
That additional is about, what, $5,800, $6,000
I
per year?
think it's about $5,800 a year,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's not substantial money going forward, it's just accumulated over
Yeah.
time.
It's accumulated about $95,000 right now. that needs to
it
be
will
divided.
need, we will need my thinking is, we will need the new breakdown on it before we could divide the money, because the old breakdown, you're still gonna have 5% hung out there. So,
Would you not just amend the law, Tracy, instead of having another act passed?
That would, I think, would probably be the better route to go, but I
Yeah.
think we've gotta have AG's opinion first to give us direction. I don't think any of us wanna go to jail, so we wanna make sure we have direction on what's the best route to take.
Yeah, I told Tracy this morning, I don't want to spend no time with you down there. I'm not
Be
signing
federal-
nothing
federal
until it's.
prison there.
So Scott's gonna, you gonna
We need,
forward this with AG?
I need a motion, I need a motion for Scott to get with the Attorney General on what to do with this money.
I'll make a motion.
Second. Second. All in favor? Yeah, I know that's 50 over. That's all paper, I'm not signing on that one. Next. When I'm wrong, I'm the first to admit, and I don't know, I didn't understand exactly what we voted on here a while back about the sheriff's department, some holiday pay. I misunderstood some of it, and what, my understanding, I think what we actually voted on was, the sheriff has deputies, dispatchers, and everybody, holidays, they work 12-hour shifts. I think what we actually voted on, I believe, was to give them a day off, to not pay them for the 8-hour holiday pay that day, give them a paid day off. Was gonna save us roughly $50,000 in the general fund. I got to looking at it and thinking, and I'm sitting here thinking that we beat them out of a day, their holiday pay. But me and Kevin and the sheriff have kind of discussed it, and we're not, the whole thing in a nutshell is we're still gonna be short $50,000 if we pay them. The sheriff has come to us wanting to take some money out of his funds and put into the general fund to where we can pay his people their holiday pay. And we've talked it over. I think we've all understood, or us three, that maybe we can do that for this year and look at it next year. Because what it amounts to, if we give, say, Dale's a dispatcher, he works Christmas Day, he gets paid, we give him 8 hours pay off at a later date, well, that's his scheduled day to work. We are still gonna have to pay somebody to work in Dale's place. So actually, we wasn't saving any money in the long run if we'd done it that way. Kevin's been good enough to come to us and say that he would pay that to help us out. And I guess what I need is a motion for the sheriff to do that for the first year, and after that, next year we'll look at it and try to get it right. And I apologize for any confusion, Kevin.
That's fine.
I've been really confused the last 3 or 4 days about it.
Well, guys, my department is run different than any other department. We're open 24 hours a day, that's the problem we have. So when you schedule somebody off, and we already schedule them off 16 hours, 16 holidays, I've got to have somebody working because we work 24 hours a day, and that's jailers, dispatchers, and deputies. So it really put me in a bind, because would have nobody working except by yourself out here by, the county. So I'm willing to do this year. We'll look at it again next year and try to come up with some funding. And the way Kaylin and I talked about it is quarterly payments. I can do it that way, because $49,000 is not coming out in one lump sum. It's based over 12 months. So I'm willing to do that if y'all agree we try to do something next year.
I don't have a problem with it. Do we need to vote on that, Scott? Or,
I think just for the record, to clean it up, we
Yeah.
can vote on it.
and to amend that? Yeah.
Basically, what you're doing is making a motion to accept his $49,049 for the fiscal fiscal year 2019, or 2020,
Yeah.
and we will reevaluate next budget season for holiday pay.
Yeah.
Cause it didn't make no sense to me how you can close sheriff's departments down. I never did understand this. It didn't make, when I was voting on it, it didn't make no sense.
Right.
We,
It's hard to run 24 hours a day, 365, but it takes a lot of employees. That's why I have the most employees,
yeah.
you know, to provide the service that we have to provide.
How many total deputies do you have,
I
Kevin?
have 14 deputies,
14 deputies.
7 dispatchers, and 8 jailers now.
So do we have a motion to accept Kevin's money? In a nutshell.
What about 75?
Divide by. Oh, yeah, you won't even give us 75?
Always want more than.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do we have a motion to accept Kevin's quarterly payment to be able to pay his employees without putting the general fund in any more of a crunch than what it is?
I'll make the motion.
Second,
So,
all in favor? So passed. At this time, we need to go into executive session for hopefully no more than 10 minutes.
29.
Then we will be back out. We have one more item
What's
on the agenda after that.
What's the reason for executive session? The
You have to
reason?
list
good
the
name and
reason.
character.
You have to announce the reason,
Yeah.
not like what specific, but
Good name and character of individual. Do I have a motion to go into
I'll make that motion.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Don't carry these numbers.
So we have a motion to go back into regular session.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Next on the agenda is, be the hiring for a new EMA director. Go ahead and make a statement. I'm gonna abstain from voting unless it is tied, because I'm chairman. This time we'll open the floor for nomination for, or a motion on the hire.
I'll make a motion for Eric Terrell.
Have a motion to hire Eric Terrell. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Opposed? 3-1. Eric Terrell will be the new EMA director. That's all we have on the agenda today. You ladies,
He will start January 1st.
January 1st, yeah. I guess his pay will be determined when we talk to the state about what reimbursements we can give. Paige, you have anything?
No, we're not on the agenda, we just came to
We'll
address
still
what
let
all was going on.
We'll still let you speak and say Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor?
Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/49 County News TV.